All righty. Well, welcome everyone. Thank you for joining us. This is the ChildKind Community of Practice webinar series. This is the completion of our 4th year of these webinars. So I believe that means 4 times 3. We've done 12 of these. So that's quite an accomplishment, I must say. And I want to thank Meredith Trent and the rest of the ChildKind staff who really has helped us put these on, as well as our colleagues from Boston Children's who are providing our technical support. And today our topic will be pediatric pain resources, options for your patients and families. Next slide, Meredith.
Yep.
So just a reminder, this session will be recorded and will be available on our website. Please remain muted during the presentations, otherwise I'll have to yell at you and call you by name. At the end of the webinar, we'll have plenty of time for questions, comments, and conversations. But if you want to put something in the chat before then, just so you don't forget, that's fine. But at the end of the webinar, we'll answer all those, and feel free to, at the end of the webinar, to unmute and speak to the group. And then please sign up for our quarterly newsletter on our website, which is childkindinternational.org. All righty, next slide. So I want to introduce our speakers. I'm going to do all the introductions at the end, and they all have lovely bios, and they're in quite an impressive group. I may shortchange them a little bit because I want to get to the talking part of this. But I'll start with Casey Cashman. Casey is the Director of Fundraising and the Pediatric Pain Warrior Program at the U.S. Pain Foundation, where she provides compassionate support to kids with pain and their families as they travel along their pain journeys. In 2015, she was featured as a participant in the Invisible Project, which led to her joining the U.S. Pain Foundation as a staff member. Casey previously had worked in human resources, and she also spearheads U.S. Pain Foundation's fundraising efforts. I'd also next like to introduce Nicole Hemmenway. Sorry, Nicole. Nicole is the CEO of the U.S. Pain Foundation and co-founded the organization's flagship program, Invisible Project, which is an online and print magazine that features the experience of people living with pain. She's also an author and motivational speaker. In her book, No, It's Not in My Head, The Journey of a Chronic Pain Survivor from Wheelchair to Marathon, details her struggles and triumphs dealing with living with complex regional pain syndrome. Next, I'd like to introduce Jody Thomas. Jody is a licensed clinical health psychologist and a specialist in pediatric medical illness and trauma. She's an internationally known expert in pediatric pain, sought-after speaker and writer, and trained medical professionals around the world. She's also the founder and CEO of the nonprofit MEG Foundation, where she leads a team of world experts in pain, technology, and design on their mission to empower kids and families to manage pain and medical anxiety. She was formerly an assistant professor at Stanford and the founding clinical director of the Packard Pediatric Pain Rehabilitation Center there. And then finally, Lanre Tunji Ajayi. Lanre is a respected leader and global patient advocate for sickle cell disease and other hereditary blood disorders, with decades of experience in patient engagement, organizational governance, and program development. She is the founder of the Global Alliance of Sickle Cell Disease Organizations and also the Global Action Network for Sickle Cell and Other Inherited Blood Disorders. She's also founded the Sickle Cell Awareness Group of Ontario and is the founding president and CEO of the Sickle Cell Disease Association of Canada. So she wears lots of hats. So I'm delighted to welcome all our speakers today. And I think we are starting with Casey. So if Meredith, you would take down the slides, and then Casey can, we can see Casey and she can go ahead. Casey.
Well, I think we're actually going to start with Nicole so she can do the overview of U.S. Pain, and then I'll speak right after her.
Sounds good. Sorry about that. Nicole, go.
Not a problem. Thank you so much for having us here today. I am so honored to be a part of this discussion. My name is Nicole Hemmenway, and I serve as the CEO of the U.S. Pain Foundation. And we are a national nonprofit dedicated to improving the quality of life and health outcomes for individuals, kids, and adults who live with chronic diseases and serious injuries that cause pain. And for us, one of the most important things is education. We strongly believe that if we can inform somebody, they become empowered along their journeys. And through that empowerment, they connect to a community. That community provides connection. It provides support. It teaches them educational tools. It gives them the confidence to find their voice again along their journey. And with their voice, they are able to advocate for themselves and for others. And in turn, that's going to lead to better health outcomes. So what we do is we provide free programs and services that range from an online and print magazine that shares the real life journeys of individuals living with chronic diseases. Incorporated in there are articles from experts really pertinent to the topic at hand to help inform those individuals, to inspire them, to help their caregivers and care partners better understand. We offer free direct peer support groups. They were all offered online. We have roughly 33 groups that range from national groups to a group that meets every single day. We have specialized groups for caregivers and care partners, for children and teens. For us, it is really about meeting people where they are and giving them the tools that they need, validating and recognizing their experiences so that they have the power to reclaim their lives and find those treatments, those specialists, those champions that are really going to help them along their journeys. For us, another big thing is advocacy. We are so fortunate to have Cindy Steinberg lead our policy program, and she was a patient, the only patient, as well as a representative of patient advocacy organization that served on the Pain Management Best Practices Task Force. We are really focused in on access to care and looking at multidisciplinary care. So for us, it is about engaging our community to take action, to use their voice, to know that their voice matters along their journey, and help them find the right tools that they need that will allow them to connect with the community, to find that support, to find those answers, and hopefully find those specialists and providers that are going to be an ally along their journey. And while we might not have the answer today for everybody's conditions, we need them to know that you can still find meaning in your life. You can still have a quality life despite the circumstances that we are facing. And then finally, we are so fortunate to have an incredible pediatric pain program. And I am going to kind of turn it over to Casey to share more about what we are doing to help children and their families and to really provide them those resources that they need to empower them along this journey. Because when we're talking about chronic pain, it is a very underserved population. But when we look at the pediatric population, that is a subset that is even marginalized further. And we need to do more for these kids and for their families along their journey. So Casey?
Yes. Well, hello, everyone. I'm Casey Cashman. I'm the director of the Pediatric Pain Warrior Program. As Nicole mentioned, thank you so much for having us and for allowing us this opportunity to share some of the resources that we have. This program started, it was my son's dream. And so as a mom, I'm just helping and seeing it through and carrying it out. As Nicole mentioned, with the education portion, is so important for us at U.S. Pain Foundation. We offer right now it's been monthly, but I'm going to say it's usually bi-monthly webinars on all different topics and or organizations that we want our families to learn about and to have those to have that knowledge. And again, that's free for all of our families to be able to join us. Our biggest program, our activity with the pediatric program is our summer camp. So we offer a 5-day, 4-night summer camp for the entire family to come together in San Antonio, Texas. It's the last week of June. And it is the opportunity for these kids to be able to experience a summer camp because so many of them can't go away to a summer camp. And this summer camp is ultra accessible. So they are able to participate in a rock wall, in riding bicycles, because there's so many different adaptive bikes. And we really bring the whole family down, because chronic pain affects the entire family. It does not just affect the child who's living with it. It affects the parents, it affects the siblings, and our goal is really about bringing that family unit back together. While they're down there, there is educational resources, sessions, as well as optional support groups for all of them. Some of the other things that we have are we have different online resources for like school accommodations and trying to get these kids back into school, and like what are the differences between a 504 and an IEP. We have one, we did a brochure on clinical trials and put all of the terms into words that kids understand, since kids have to agree to being in a clinical trial. We have online resources that we can ship to anybody, that they can give out, that they can have at their disposal for these kids and their families. And then we do offer the support groups. As Nicole said, we have one that is for 13 to 17-year-olds. And then next year, this year, we are in 2024. This year, our hope is to have one that's going to be kind of that 18 to 20, young 20s, because that age in and of itself is so difficult, let alone when you're dealing with a complex medical condition. It just makes it even that much worse. And so we really want to focus in on that group as well. And so, I mean, our whole goal is to make sure that these kids realize and these families realize that they are not alone in their pain journey, and that we are there to walk alongside of them. One of the exciting things was earlier this month, we had the youngest patient ever to go and speak at the NIH. And the NIH actually awarded them a certificate. They were one of the keynote speakers at a session on diversity, and at the end, I don't remember the exact title, Nicole, you might, but it was on diversity. And so we were honored to actually have the youngest child there to ever speak at the NIH. So we are here, happy to answer any questions that you guys may have at the end. But I just appreciate you guys having us.
Great, thanks, Casey and Nicole. That was really helpful. I'm going to now turn it over, I believe, to Jody. And Jody, did you want us to share some slides, or you're going to share some slides?
I am going to share some slides. I'm going to make this work. There you go. I'm assuming we can see this, or you'll let me know if you can't. Hi, everybody. My name is Jody Thomas, and I'm a clinical psychologist, and want to tell you about the Meg Foundation. And again, want to thank ChildKind for having me here today, and that it's been a total honor to be on here with these other amazing organizations, individuals who I'm lucky enough to work with too. So I just want to take a few minutes to plow through, and this will be plowing through in the interest of time, to let you know a little bit about our org and what we do. I think the thing to really know is that we really founded the Meg Foundation with the goal of collaboration and partnership and empowering other organizations doing good work, whether that's providers and nonprofits. So everything you see and everything we do is freely available and open source. We want to make your job easier. So why do we exist? Why do we do what we do? Probably not something I have to explain to this group, but those poorly managed childhood pain experiences create that fear of doctors and healthcare, and parents start to make those medical decisions based on that fear of the freak out rather than best practice. That fear can travel into adulthood, influencing those medical decisions and worsening health outcomes. And that creates major impact on the individual and public health. And of course, we also know that the chronic pain and early pain experiences are also making a huge difference in what are those outcomes for those kids as adults. So when it comes to us as providers, we also know that good pain management increases the patient experiences, decreases medical trauma, increases parent satisfaction, decreases wait times, and helps with business efficiency. And very importantly, it helps with staff satisfaction. And in the age of healthcare burnout, That is extremely important to us, as always. It's also the difference when we think about procedural pain, the difference between this and this. Because really, we keep in mind that needle anxiety is a healthcare choice changing issue for 63% of kids, 50% of teens, and 25% of adults. And not only is this an issue day to day, we certainly saw that play out during the COVID vaccine rollout, where we actually ended up doing quite a bit of work. So I'm going to take us a little bit into some of the things we've done over the 5 years that we've been going. So just to give you a little overview of us organizations, we've launched 4 major tech products in multiple languages designed to help kids and parents build pain management skills. We have a huge focus on diversity, equity, and inclusion and access. We have things actually now in 13 languages, and we have our monsters because it helps us get around issues of race, gender, and culture so we can connect with a more diverse audience. We provide trainings, research-based, expert-approved resources to hospitals, universities, and medical practices all over the world. We have 89, actually it's even more than this now, resources so far, and that number is growing. And that outreach is working. We now, and as our reputation thankfully growing, we have resources that have been used and downloaded in 94 countries. So we certainly have a huge focus on giving back and sharing what we know. We played a role in the COVID vaccine rollout, partnered with HHS and worked with the U.S. Surgeon General's office, doing press events. I was a trusted messenger for the We Can Do This campaign. We also, tools are great, but knowing how to use them is what creates impact. So we also have a provider kit that outlines the reasons, the science, and how medical providers can fit their resources into their work. We really are, our big goal of really changing how we think about kids and pain as a larger culture. We do a lot of advocacy and outreach. So we've done a lot of press. I've done more podcasts than I can count at this point, but doing work with like CBS Morning Show and the Washington Post, Scary Mommy, Parents Magazine, these orgs that really help us get this message out into the general public. So we collaborate with orgs like the American Academy of Pediatrics, been doing articles for their healthychildren.org, their patient-facing website, and also their podcasts. Working, of course, with this amazing organization, ChildKind, and that we really like people to know that we love science, so that not everything we do is based on the latest in medical research and best practices, and our collaboration with researchers as well. So we actually had our first major journal article released in 2023, and we love being a part of research and making sure what we create is doing what we want it to do. So we do a lot of collaboration also with NGOs and nonprofits internationally. We did a big project with Ukraine and helping kids with chronic pain in the Ukraine last year. We do a lot of training, doing things like grand rounds, webinars, and workshops all over the place, and collaborating with orgs with an emphasis on healthcare equity and access is really top in mind. We did a great project a few years ago with the LA Department of Health and CHLA, looking at how to increase vaccine rates in Black and Latinx populations. Again, podcasts, both patient-facing and provider-facing. All of this stuff is listed on our website, by the way. So we now have thousands of websites that link back to our content and resources because, of course, it is all open source. And some of the top information sites, including the AAP, the National Library of Medicine, American Academy of Child Adolescent Psychiatry, actually the CDC, etc. Resources, including one that I'll chat about later, Imagine Action. And we're really, really proud of our team and really grateful for them and the passion that they have for this as a topic, which is why they are so dedicated to helping us help the world, ideally. So we also do a lot of advocacy and outreach in various conferences as well. For any of you that will be at SPPM in a few weeks, we will be there too, and we hope that you will come on by. So let me get back to our presentation. So everything we do for us geeks out there who are on the research is based on the IMB model of health behavior change. So knowing that to create change both organizationally, but also in the individual as a provider and a patient, we need to have not only information, but also access, motivation, and very importantly, behavioral skills. The how is really how we execute large-scale change. We have resources on procedural, acute, and chronic pain. And we do a lot to really work on how we increase the public's understanding of the biopsychosocial model. So this is our biopsychosocial dragon monster that we use in a lot of our materials to explain this concept that to tame pain, we got to tame all three of those heads. This is an example of one of our tech products. This is SuperMeg. It's an interactive piece of tech that helps kids create coping plans for medical procedures. Once they go through and create that personalized plan for themselves, that plan is then sent to the parent or caregiver along with the resources to make that happen. So for instance, when they say that we want to use comfort positioning, we also have links to the comfort positioning guide. Same with things like numbing cream, distraction, etc. During the vaccine rollout, we also created a website for adults, which is typically a little bit outside of what we focus on, called Hack the Vax. So it's also available to everyone, similar concept. And then we also heard during this that from our teenagers, which are an oft-ignored group, and one of the biggest pieces of demand that we get from organizations is on our teens. So though the fact that 50% of teenagers struggle particularly with needle anxiety is an issue, let alone when we think about chronic pain, they often think they're the only one. So we also know that they're a tough audience, which we actually love to take up that challenge. So there's a lot of use of humor and snarkiness and animation to make it interesting and cool for them. So we created the Take Control app, which is a concept similar to SuperMag, where it's interactive and helps them decide, but it's also not just the what to do to cope, but to how to actually execute it. So they can also create a personalized plan and send it to themselves. So it's not only the different strategies they can use, but the actual steps for execution, including language, what they can say to a provider, to a parent, to whoever is relevant to make that happen. So again, just a great number of various downloadable poke plans, downloadable posters, cards, our provider toolkit, all freely available for download on our site and most available in lots of languages. Perhaps the most popular piece of content we have is our Pain, Myths, and Facts book, which uses our kind of signature high level of visual metaphor to explain various myths and facts. This frankly started off as a social media campaign that really took off and now we have actually a physical book that you can ask for and order, but is also available as an ebook online and totally available free as well. Our provider toolkit, which I'll let you wander in the interest of time, so I'm not taking up too much more time. One of the other really pieces of content and our resource that has really taken off is our downloadable Understanding Pain. It's a 4-page doc that goes over the basics of pain and how it works, originally created actually for our Ukraine project, and now in various languages, but explaining the three-headed dragon, the different aspects of pain, what helps, the whole concept of higher stress being more pain, lower stress being less pain, and various techniques and strategies for coping. So we also work a lot. This is Imagine Action, which is a project I did for Stanford Children's Health a few years ago. Self-hypnosis, freely accessed. We've got about 30 to 40,000 users a month at this point. Going over the 10 most common issues dealt with kids in medical settings, including chronic, acute, and procedural pain. This includes a video that explains how and why this happens. I will not force you to go through it right now, but the other good thing to know is actually this entire site, we just got more funding, and by the end of the year, we'll have it available in Spanish as well, which is really exciting for us. to really our take-home message is that we exist so you don't have to reinvent the wheel. We want to be able to provide high-quality, extremely accessible resources that can be used in a variety of settings. So we do projects with orgs quite literally all over the world, universities, hospitals, NGOs, all of the folks. This is a sample of some of the organizations that we have worked with. And so, yeah, basically, we are here for you. One of the things I would really encourage you to do is to sign up for our newsletter. It's a great way to keep up on our tools as they come out, relevant info, various different things with our partners, including like advertising this webinar to make sure that people know of the great resources, including those available by our incredible other orgs. So thank you. There you go.
Wow, Jody, that was great. No surprise on my part. And now I'm looking for, oh, there's Lanre on the screen. So Lanre, take it away.
Thank you, Williams, and thank you everyone for being here. And I'm happy to be part of this conversation. Lanre in Georgia is my name, and I am from Sickle Cell Awareness Group of Ontario. Sickle cell disease, as you might know, is an hereditary blood disorder that affects the red blood cells. It comes with complications, and it can affect any part of the body. Is a multi-organ disorder affecting the liver, the kidney, the eyes. It can cause blindness. It can cause deafness. Just think about it. Any organ in the body can be affected. Children as young as 2 years old would have stroke and so on and so forth. So this is a very serious debilitating disease, but the hallmark of this disease is pain. Pain is the most felt symptom of this disease, and yet the care providers many times misunderstand this disease in those that have sickle cell disease. So just for us to be able to put this in perspective, just a few years ago, we did a study of, people who were affected by sickle cell disease. And what we found is that the pediatric population are actually very happy with the quality of care that they do receive, most of them anyways, whereby the adult population, this is where sickle cell is largely misunderstood. I was listening to Jody in an amazing presentation, and some of what she shared is some things that we have also done in her organization. And we have taught children from a very tender age how to manage pain, how to ensure that they are in control of their pain. We have given them different strategies, including things like listening to music and try to dull away the pain. And yet, when they become an adult and they use the same strategy, we then judge them to say, they can't be in that much pain if they are listening to their music or they are playing with their phone. But that's exactly what we taught them when they were young. And so we find that this disease is highly misunderstood. And so as you turn 18 and you come into the adult world and you go into an adult hospital, then you are often misunderstood and branded as drug seeking because, again, the pain that comes with sickle cell disease has been compared by scientists to terminal cancer pain. It's a very serious level of pain. And so when patients are saying the pain meds you're giving me is not working, right away people are thinking, could they be drug seekers? And again, maybe one thing I need to mention also is the fact that while sickle cell disease may affect most people, it predominantly affects people whose background is from Africa and Caribbean. So it's you find people who identify as Black are predominantly affected by sickle cell disease. So we found there is also anti-Black racism in the healthcare system when it comes to sickle cell disease. So a few things we have done to combat this is number one, we have created clinician online programs that clinicians can take this course at any time to have a better understanding around sickle cell disease. We've worked with Ontario Health to create quality standards for sickle cell disease. And currently, Ontario Health is disseminating the quality standards in hospitals and so on. And there are 8 statements in the quality standard, and one of them is on anti-Black racism and biases around sickle cell disease. Other things we've done is we know that when parents and patients show up in the hospital and they're going through excruciating pain and they are not getting the right care at the right time, they need to be empowered to be self-advocates for themselves. So we have created what we call this is management program for patients and families, whereby they go through training to become effective advocates for themselves. And at the same time, they also learn about their disease. And while pain might be the hallmark of the disease, like I mentioned earlier, sickle cell disease also causes damage to other organs in the body. And so they need to also know how to take care of their body to prevent complications that they should not be having if they are very much aware of their disease. Other things we've done is we have created an hub whereby we have resources for them to help them. And our hub does not only have resources that we created, we also partner with like solutions for kids in pain, CK, Ottawa Hospital, and so many other partners, and we have their resources on pain also on this hub to allow people to have access to different resources to support them and their families that's going through pain or other complications of sickle cell disease. We also have a peer support group. We have for youth, we have for people who are middle age, we have for older adults as well. And one thing about sickle cell I'd like to also mention is that for the longest time, sickle cell is a pediatric disease because people were not living long enough. Now we find more people are living longer with sickle cell disease, so now we are having more resources for older adults. But it still should be said that while in the general population you might have 65 years as maybe the seniors age starting for sickle cell disease, what will happen to appear without sickle cell disease at 65, most of the time will start to happen to people with sickle cell disease in their 40s and their 50s. It's a very, very unique demographic, and so we have programs geared to them based on all of this evidence-based information that we have. We also established what we call the Patient Advisory and Advocacy Council. The Advisory and Advocacy Council is made up of patients, their family members, and we have a medical advisor who is an hematologist on this council as well. And the role of the council is to provide inputs into working groups in hospitals on policies and how to improve the quality of treatment and care that are given to people with sickle cell disease. The council is also very involved in policy and other work of the organization, and we find that the council has been very vocal, even with the Ontario government when it comes to sickle cell disease. We also provide our families with emergency respite and transportation support. I'm not sure if this is known, but given that sickle cell disease is a disease that gets you into the hospital more often than your peers, people many a times are not able to keep jobs because if you sick today and you sick tomorrow and you're taking time off, sooner or later your boss will tell you, well, we understand your illness, however, we need the work done. So you find that many people with sickle cell disease are also, they also have low socioeconomic status. And so when they have to go for treatment, whether for pain or other issues, we provide them with transportation support. We provide our families with respite to, ensure that they get a break, from taking care of their children with sickle cell disease, and sometimes they just need that emergency support to get medication or food or and stuff like that, or supplements, and we're happy to support them in this way. We actually just held our Action Day at Queen's Park just last week, and this is another thing that we do to advocate on behalf of our families with the government to ensure that the comprehensive care centers that are taking care of people with sickle cell disease have the right resources to do this very well, the right staffing and all of that. We've actually just asked for 4 more centers in the province, and we're hoping that we will get through with getting this ask, provided to have, because for us, one of our goals is to ensure that patients receive care closer to home. And that also will help in reducing the traveling and also the barriers to good care and so on and so forth. Another thing that we do is to raise awareness around our work. And so we work with different media. Black History Month was February. And so we've used February to be in the news. We've had interview with CDC, we had interviews with Global Television, interview with Globe and Mail, like all kind of media to raise awareness and empathy in advancing this cause. So this in a nutshell, I can go on and on, but this in a nutshell are some of the things that we've done and we continue to do. So chiefly, like I said, clinician education is important, patient and families education is important, and also supporting to ensure that our families have those advocacy skill sets to improve their own self-advocacy when they find themselves, in the health system and they're not getting the right care at the right time. Thank you.
Thank you, Lanre. That was awesome. So now we have some time for discussion, questions. And so I'm gonna, probably the easiest way, if you want to ask a question, is just tell me in the chat, because I've got 3 pages of people, so it's hard for me to see all the hands up. So if you want to put even if you want to put your question in the chat and I can read it, or I can just call on you if you say I want to ask a question. So I guess while we're waiting for those questions to pour in, wanted to ask members of the group, how can we as clinicians better align with organizations such as yours? I mean, typically, we give patients resources, information about resources out there on our discharge summaries, et cetera. We might have them on our websites, but it strikes me that I don't know how often our patients access that information or if it's utilized. So I'd ask you guys to think about that and tell me, how can we do a better job getting the word out about your organization? So I'll let Casey start, and then we'll go from there.
Wow, put me on the spot. No, that's okay. I first off, I'm so excited to be, on this with the other organizations, because they're both doing phenomenal work. So kudos to you guys. And I know from our standpoint is that we go to so many different physician conferences just to make sure that all of the physicians know what we have to offer. And to make sure that you guys realize that we can just provide you guys with these resources. And yes, you guys won't know if people utilize them or not, but you guys just offering it to them, and these patients trust what you guys are giving them, that you guys have vetted, and it's not, just something you picked up off the street. And just making sure that patients are getting the quality resources that they might need. And being open with them and saying, like, listen, we don't have all of this information. Like, we can't provide all of this education and all of these support sessions and all of the information you need for school and things like that. But here is resources for you guys to do some work yourselves. And then that also leads to empowering them, because then they can look at our website, at the Meg Foundation, or at the resources that you have given, And that also empowers them to say, oh, well, this actually matches with me more than maybe what you were thinking. So I really think just having that open conversation with the patients and saying, we can't do all of this, but here is a fantastic organization or organizations that have these resources for you is just an incredible piece.
And I just would like to add on to that a little bit. And I know that the Meg Foundation does it as well, but all of our resources are available print as well as online, and they are free for clinicians, for patients, for the public, anybody. So you can go to our website, you can either find the link and download it yourself, you can share the link, but we also can physically mail you copies, and they could be either in waiting rooms, they could be somewhere within your hospital, your offices, so that these families and these kids have something that they can look at that's going to empower them, and hopefully will lead to better conversations when they go and see you because they have more information. The other thing that I just wanted to add to, and I'm going to actually have Casey talk about it, is that we are collaborating with a lot of different children's hospitals, putting on Paying Patient Education Days. And Casey, I know you didn't mention that earlier. I don't know if you want to talk about that, because that's another way that those attending right now could utilize our organization and other organizations here to help those families.
Absolutely. So we've done 2 so far this year, and we'll be getting some more done, doing some more towards the end of the year as well. We went to Texas Children's and to Phoenix Children's, and we partnered and collaborated with them, with their pain centers and with the headache centers to put on an educational day. Both of them were 6 hours, and we had all the different doctors coming in and talking about different topics, right, that are important to their community there, and from pain psychologists all the way up to PTs and OTs. And we bring, again, the whole family together and just offer them those resources. And Jody and I, we do work together on some other things, and it's not even just about all of us. Like, we took the Meg Foundation's information with us. We've taken other nonprofit information with us. And it's really about getting those resources into those patients' hands, because once they build that community and they feel that sense of community, they realize they're not alone. They're empowered to take on more of their pain journey as well.
Great. That's great work. Lanre, it strikes me that you do a lot of face-to-face with physicians. And at least in Connecticut, I know that our community-based sickle cell organization sometimes comes to appointments with patients, or you talk about arranging rides. Is that something you could do? And can you talk a little bit more about how you interface between patients and clinicians?
Thank you so much, Williams. And I find that the other 2 speakers are US-based, which is great. Our organization, Sickle Cell Awareness of Ontario, is Canadian. And so giving some background and some context to how we work with clinicians, in Canada. So number one, we have a form that is in every center that treats sickle cell in the country. In the province, and this form will be given to new patients as they come in, and this is where the patient will be able to complete the form to say, I want to be connected with Sickle Cell Awareness Group of Ontario. So once the patient completes or the family member completes this form, it could be the admin in the hospital, whoever gave them this form, will take it back and then will fax it to us or scan it to us. So we have this individual's information. They have consented for us to connect with them, and then so this is one way that we are working with the clinician to really expose our program and what we're doing, and that has been working very well for us. We also hold our annual conferences every year, and we partner with hospitals in our province, so we work collaboratively, like with St. Hospital, Ottawa Hospital. We collaborate with them as partners, and we plan the conference together. So we have the clinician track in the conference, we have patient and family track in the conference. So this is another way that we work together. We also attend conferences that are also put together by healthcare providers, and we have a booth space, and that also raises awareness on what we do and allow more people to know about the work that we do. Another way that I also feel that we work with both clinicians and the patients is also giving out opportunities to, even be advocates together. I just mentioned we just had an action day, at the seat of power in my province, and we asked both clinicians and patients and families as delegates, meeting with parliamentarians together and working together this way. So these are some of the ways that we do, work together. When we're developing booklets and other resources, we will have both, healthcare providers and people with lived experience participate and provide feedback and input and, and context into the work that we do. Currently, one project we're doing is to, we are working on developing vaccine equity strategy in sickle cell disease. And this project is funded by the Public Health Agency of Canada. And we have for this strategy, both clinicians again, and patients and families that are interacting in sickle cell disease, working together to develop the strategy.
Great. That's I think you see some differences in that. Obviously, some of these groups are national and some of them are more local, and they both have an incredible opportunity to be helpful. Christina asked, where can we find the link for the recording? I think that'll be on our website. Is that correct, Meredith? Yes, that should be on our website, childkindinternational.org. So I'm going to ask Jody a new question. Jody, what's on your wish list? Like something you'd really like the Meg Foundation to tackle or to do that you haven't been able to do yet?
It's an excellent question. I can tell you what we're really working on currently is how do we sort of get ever more effective at meeting the needs of both our audience as patients and families, but also providers. So kind of actually going back to your first question of how do we actually integrate into how workflows work and how those things go. But the other piece that we're working on, which is actually really relevant to, again, our panel today is disease-specific content and diagnosis-specific content and bringing people through. So we're actually been working on some projects on sickle cell and we're looking at diabetes and different things where there's very specific things about the experience, both procedural and acute and chronic pain within different diagnoses, and how we're organizing information to make it the most effective. So we're actually going to be launching here, hopefully in the next 3 months or so, is what we call our our clinical map. So right now, our website operates as kind of a buffet, all sorts of different resources that people can choose from. But what we've heard in all of our user testing is that can be really overwhelming. And so what we're creating is sort of these pathways, this map that people can follow that helps them connect those resources together. So a lot of people would come in, find a resource, they really like it, but aren't necessarily seeing all the other things that could be helpful. And so we are internally calling them so far the what the heck do I do maps. So everything from I'm getting a vaccine, what the heck do I do? I'm landed in the ER, what the heck do I do? My kid keeps having headaches, what the heck do I do? But being able to follow those along, which hopefully becomes a lot more useful, not only for that audience of being able to put that picture together, but also as a massive tool for clinicians and how, because a lot of our things are also about advocacy. So how we facilitate better and better conversation, collaboration with providers. So in terms of that ask from this type of audience, we really want people to tell us what they would need, particularly as clinicians. I laugh, only sort of laugh, that I founded the foundation to create the things that I wish existed when I was doing clinical work all of the time. And so we love hearing from clinicians, and we work with a lot of different orgs saying, hey, we want to develop this. We know that you guys have the designers, have the the expertise to do it. So we love collaborating with specific projects with different organizations. And then we take that and what we learn and do from that, and then make that available for everyone. That's actually how most of our projects have come to be. So we love people reaching out, and we love clinicians telling us what they need.
So we have a very quiet group here today. So I'm going to ask them a question, because one of the things that I know for instance, in our place, we have a sickle cell family advisory board. We don't have a chronic pain parent advisory board. Is that something that exists out there at other children's hospitals or other organizations? Please either raise your hand and I'll scroll through, or just speak up. I want to hear about what's going on out there. Don't be shy.
I can tell you that we have some parents and patients who are on different children's hospital advisory boards. So I know I can just speak up from that side of things, but hopefully other people will mention it as well.
Others? I'm struck by the positive experiences of when parents with kids with pain talk to parents with other kids with pain, or when kids with pain are able to group together. And I wonder if any of your organizations facilitate those type of interactions at all, or what we can do to really help with those kinds of things.
If I may jump in quickly, William.
Sure, Andre, go for it.
Thank you. So sickle cell disease, as an example, as we know, is a chronic disease that has episodic pain crisis. So I find most healthcare providers understand how to treat the acute pain that comes with sickle cell disease, but then when a patient says, I'm always in pain, they just don't get that chronic pain. And they're like, is this person always in pain truly? Because that is not typical with sickle cell disease, or are they faking pain to get a fix, to get happier, right? And so that has been an area of education that's very important, even for clinicians, because we find a lot of patients interacting with the health system are struggling to really explain and say, I am truly in pain all the time. And we will find, we have found clinicians saying, that's not true. You can always be in pain all the time, but it is true. So what we're doing currently is we're putting together, a group in our organization to really talk this through and even create, resources around this that will help clinicians better understand, chronic pain in sickle cell disease, right? So, because I think most clinicians understand the acute pain, and the chronic pain is something that some of them are struggling.
Thank you, Andre. That's really helpful to hear.
Can I jump in real quick?
Sure, go for it.
Okay, sorry. I was just going to say that I know you mentioned about getting people together, and as I was saying before, is that community is the biggest thing. And I know for us in particular, that's why we are pushing these community days with these hospitals, because then they are building the community right there in their hometown. So for instance, when we did the one at Phoenix Children's, we had one girl who was getting ready to go into high school, and another girl this was her freshman year. They live in the exact same town, but they have school choice, so they could pick where you go to high school at that point. And they had never met before, and they both thought they were the only ones going through it. So for us, we were able to have this 8th grader then meet this 9th grader. So automatically then they became friends and they were talking about everything. And then the parents were able to say, oh my God, well, this is how I got everything. This school has been fantastic. And so they were all like able to, lay that pathwork out, which is why those community days are so important, as well as like our camp. So yes, I mean, bringing them together is just so crucial. And they have so many more questions that they will ask each other that they won't ask us, that they won't ask you guys, the provider, because they think they're going to be judged. They think that maybe you will change their medications, change their treatment plan, change anything if they say or ask the wrong question. And they have that ability to talk to to other families that have been through it and are living it every single day. It's just what is so important. And then the other thing that I just wanted to touch base on is towards the end of this year, we are going to be launching a chronic pain for like a pediatric chronic pain survey, so we can get a better understanding of what the children and their families are living with, because as I mentioned, it does affect the whole family. So you can't even just think parents and the pain warrior. You also have to consider the siblings, because they are very much affected by this, and really getting their input on all of it.
Great, thank you. Julia, I see you wanting to make a comment, so I'm gonna let you go.
Thank you, I appreciate that. I actually just highlighted a comment in the chat section. So Erin, who's affiliated with ChildLife, asked the question, to improve emergency room treatment of procedural pain, what types of education has been most effective? i.e. live-in services, webinars, visual resources, posters. And then she also asked which audience can make the biggest impact, i.e. nurses, advanced practice providers, physicians, pharmacists, etc.
I'm gonna let Jody go for that one.
Okay. I would say one of the things we've learned in there is that actually having education around that's specific to the actual profession. So how we talk to physicians about it is different than we want to talk to phlebotomists or procedural people about it. But in terms of sort of the most bang for your buck, which appears to be kind of part of that question, I actually think you need two things. One is leadership from the top down, so support from the larger organization that these changes need to occur, but also really good support and training for the people who are on the front lines doing the things, and having them have the resources available to them to actually execute. Education also needs to be ongoing in order to do that. So it's actually one of the projects we're working on right now. We're going to be doing a project with Children's Hospital Colorado, but we're also working with an organization called Every Child Pediatrics, which serves a larger focused on low income and low resource families. But the questions, we're going to be developing then series of educational materials, both videos, which are how people learn a lot these days, and interactive tech, in order to be able to make that happen and then be ongoing available. So it's really, because there's so much turnover, particularly in EDs, emergency rooms, it has to be a continuous part built into the culture. This is where things like posters and things around talking to patients about it, because then it becomes something that patients were normalizing within the environment. Patients have a voice in it, but then providers have the training. So it's really a coming together of both of those things.
Great, thank you, Jody. So we're right at 4 o'clock Eastern time. I want to thank all of our speakers and our audience. And I just want to mention in the chat another patient organization that I'm quite familiar with, Creative Healing for Youth in Pain, or mychyp.org. It's run by Lonnie Zeltzer. For their information, they put their website in the chat. Thank you. And they also do great work with families. I know they have a virtual summer camp for kids. So there are a lot of resources out there. Please take a look at all the websites for, Meg Foundation, U.S. Pain Foundation for sickle cell disease. There's a corollary organization in the U.S. for sickle cell disease, SCDAA, but there's also local sickle cell disease organizations you can tap into. So please take a look at these resources, share them with your families, and thank you for all being advocates for patients and their families, and for attending our webinar today. Have a great day.